So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Dungeons and Dragons: The Second Age. How are we all doing?
Great.
Thirsty for flags.
God
No.
damn it, we can't do
Wow.
this.
No, we're not doing this. So, let us go for a brief recap of what happened last time. Anyone want to volunteer?
If I could remember.
Well, let's see.
Helena, we miss you.
I can remember where we ended. The only thing I'm not sure about. Yeah, did we start with the plan for what we were gonna do?
Yeah, you started by making a plan and then
Oh, okay. So from there on.
leaving the Fortress of the Amber Eagle.
Yes. Well, I guess a long story short, we decided to start tracking where the monster came from. We found someone in the woods who had seen a person talk to something invisible, which we assumed to be the assassin demon, or at least we assumed the two were related. And then we tried to track them and followed them down to Rourke's gate, where and then in Rourke's gate we got like a place to sleep, and we started asking questions. We learned about a little bit more about the weird going-ons, and mainly with the nobles. There was one of the nobles was murdered.
There's been a murder.
There's been a murder.
We resolved some issues with the Moon Blade. I forget their name.
The Guardians of Namud.
That's it. I always think it's the Moon Blade for some reason.
The Moonblade.
Yes, you resolved a personal dispute between two members of the Guardians. Yes.
Yes.
Bit of tension.
And I like. And then like the very end is I think that's pretty much what we did.
Well, to bring us into the scene, you guys have waited for a few hours, doing your own thing, and you now have a meeting with Paladin Alejandro Remus, who you have met previously, who agreed to give you some more information about the goings on in the city.
Excellent.
So,
I'm gonna go meet with Paladin Rayman.
as you walk up the steps into the cathedral, you basically the main front doors are closed, but waiting just inside the entryway to the cathedral is a face that by this point you are quite familiar with, of Catherine Voss, who nods to you all as you enter and sort of says, "Well, I'm just signing off. I guess I'll see you guys around." And well, good luck with your meeting, I guess.
Yes.
She disappears off down the steps, and yeah, you step inside. Emerging from the back rooms as you enter are the Paladin and the Priest of the Radiant Dawn, Chaplain Sunkeeper. And they sort of gesture you guys to join them and sit down. Chaplain Sunkeeper says, I'm just here to communicate. Sorry, brother. I'm just here to officiate. I'm not really involved in all of this, at least not on a not on a professional level. So I guess if the paladin is willing, he will bring you up to speed on some things. Paladin Ramos sort of nods, bows respectively, and says, "Thank you, Chaplain, for letting us have this meeting here. I think perhaps these people will be an asset to our investigations." So, I suppose the best place to begin is where this all starts. I understand you've heard from the chaplain about the unfortunate happenings with...
Yes. It's, Richard Smallberg, right?
Indeed. Having such a prominent murder on temple premises is, well, it's troubling for the Radiant Dawn. Particularly when a great degree of deceit and trickery seems to have gone into it. Following my investigations and the investigations of the guard, we believe that he was killed to cover up some illegal dealings that either he or his family have had. Unfortunately, any investigation into those dealings has hit somewhat of a dead end. Whilst he mentioned during his confessional that he'd had run-ins with some bad people and said they were going to end up causing him trouble, we've not really been able to get much out of that. His family know very little, and the circumstances of his death are somewhat strange. The man who was supposed to have killed him, at least the few witnesses that saw the man enter the temple, claim that he has the appearance of Richard Smallbrook's elder brother, Gerald. But upon questioning with the family and some looking into public records, Gerald Smallbrook has been dead for close to 4 years.
Yes.
He is a caravan guard for the family business, but he was killed in an unfortunate incident on the road. Do not believe a body was ever uncovered, but it's my understanding that the family have a memorial for him in the crypt, and as far as I can tell, there is the records trail that would indicate he is dead does seem to check out. I believe this is somebody impersonating a family member, somebody who perhaps knows the family a little better than they might be letting on. Or at least, perhaps the family are unaware of this connection.
Well, they must have known. Well, in order to replicate that look, they must have at least have known them to some degree. We're also fairly confident that, like, the actual thing that caused the actual cause of death of Richard Smallbrook was necromantic magic. So it wouldn't be inconceivable that they, well, magically concealed their identity, or, well,
Yes.
tricked people.
And with the ability to slip away undetected, that theory lines up. The thing that I find curious out of all of this, particularly after what you've told me about the wider goings on that you believe this may be connected to. The break-ins that we've had. There have been 3 of them over a short period of time, less than the space of a week. The only items reported stolen during the initial consultation were some small items of jewellery, gemstones, similar items of mostly sentimental worth, but not an insignificant amount of financial worth as well. The thing that strikes me as most concerning about all of this is that less than a day after the 3rd break-in, the various nobles, Banks, Dorrit, Rata, they all dropped any charges. Their reasons for doing so were blaming all sorts of things from misplaced items to misunderstanding with house staff. I have no reason to doubt these people other than 3 cases being dropped on the same day for similarly vague reasons just doesn't sit right with me.
It seems like somebody, may have forced their hand slightly.
Precisely.
One way or another.
I have reason to believe that the houses are closing ranks on us, so to speak. Potentially something surrounding the murder. In the last few weeks, the houses have all been hiring more private security, unconnected to my order, the church, the guard, anything. Ordinarily, I wouldn't consider this suspicious, but they've been absent.
Things add up.
Yes, you agree. But they've also been significantly absent from a number of small council meetings, primarily surrounding the incidents that have happened. Normally, the noble houses are the first to chime in about matters of city security, but none of them have been showing up.
Well, my initial thought is to try and talk to them, but the issue there is I don't think we're gonna get a whole lot of time by just knocking on their door, so to speak.
No, I would be inclined to agree. The Radiant Dawn and the City Watch have been doing that for quite some time, and we've got essentially nothing out of them, and I think they just would have more reason to be suspicious of you.
The only thing is that we could, one of the options so far that we've come up with is potentially gaining access to one of their, gatherings through perhaps invitations of the Red Dawn?
Radiant Dawn.
Radiant Dawn, that's it. However, because the other thing that I would be interested in is having a look around, but I don't think there's any way we can really do that without breaking any rules. That is, of course.
The idea that I had when I first saw you all arriving in town, when we started discussing this, I did have one idea that I think might be a reasonable plan if you're willing to hear it.
Hearing it can never be a bad thing.
You are all mercenaries, correct?
Correct.
The easiest way I can think for an interested party to gain access to one of the houses would simply be to be hired.
I was going to suggest something similar because we are clearly not tied to any of the groups that typically provides security in this city.
Precisely
It'd be
my
very easy to
thought.
Present themselves as more security for hire from outside.
Yes. There is one small issue, perhaps. How will we know if we? Well, I guess with the bunch of us, the odds are that we'll end up somewhere useful. Also, I guess, well, the rumors will spread within the house itself if anything is going on.
That's my expectation, at least. I also expect that your reputation will stand for something.
It should help. Well, it's not so much that getting a job is not so much the problem as figuring out how to exploit this to our advantage.
That, I'm afraid, is where my expertise ends, and I'm hoping that yours begins.
Well, I'm sure we can come up with some. The only issue is, if we're gonna do this, we cannot go and talk to the Smallbrook family. Because I think if we start inquiring with before we do this, that might set off some alarm bells.
I think I have an idea for the perfect client.
Yes.
Out of character, quick. Which ones did we establish were the ones that had been robbed again?
Banks, Rata, and Dorrit were all broken into.
Yeah. So yeah, back in character. I would suggest the Othels. They're the only ones who haven't been touched. They're the only sort of noble family who haven't been touched. I suspect that if whoever this is targeting the noble families, they may well be next. And if we can be there for whatever does come their way, that might be ideal.
And the alternative is that they're involved if they're the only ones that haven't had any action taken against them.
Exactly. Either they're the next victim or they're the culprit.
The odds are pretty good on that.
I will say, as a matter of memory refreshing, Arya and Kelariis, you both have met the matriarch of House Othel before, Lady Othel. Admittedly only in passing, but she was the host of the art exhibition that you were originally going to break into, but instead had a meeting with Catherine.
So technically that works in our favor? Because we're not just randos off the street, hire our services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of. Well, we kind of still are, but at least we're not complete strangers. Okay,
yeah.
That's good to know.
Yes, you met briefly, and she is aware that you are a mercenary company, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Do we know her name? Just
Lady Othel.
it was just okay.
She's a noble. We're not on first name basis.
No, but that's information. Obviously we wouldn't call her that, but
you probably are aware that her first name is Ennis.
Ennis, okay.
Lady Ennis Othel.
Okay, well that's good to just keep in mind then.
I'm not sure if it was mentioned in the actual the session that we did it, but carrying over from your role from the other session, Elizabeth, the Othel family, the role that they played in the growth of Rourke's Gate is that they basically own all of the they own the monopoly on the mining and smithing in and around the area, and they previously owned the abandoned silver mine that you went into to fight some hobgoblins in a couple of seasons ago.
Well, they went into.
Yes. But yes, they made their money through mining and smithing.
I shall have to look into this further.
Well, guess that would be a.
But yeah, those would be my. They would be my recommended client, I suppose.
That would be a good idea.
Do
And
some of
obviously
us
it's a happy
still
coincidence
want
that we've-
try to talk to the Smallbrook family, or House Smallbrook?
I feel like of all the houses, they'd be the least likely to want to cooperate. They've almost certainly been hit the hardest. Assuming this is all some sort of scare tactic for the nobles, then they're most likely the most scared.
The paladin stands up at this point and just sort of says, "Well, sounds to me like you all have some planning ahead."
Well, there is one thing or at least I would like to know before.
If I can answer it, I will.
Well, I assume you can. If we find anything, what degree of proof should we be able to bring back? Because as much as like we could just tell you, I would also understand if you would be somewhat hesitant to just barge into, let's say, the offals. I doubt that's going to happen, but like, or should we should we at least find or bring along a ledger or something along those lines?
At the moment where we stand, we have no evidence to do anything. The way the Radiant Dawn sees it is, there is a potential threat to this city, and we will act on that potential threat. We ideally would prefer a more reasonable grounds. The Othels are not. They are incredibly influential.
Well, they were merely an example. Let's hope it's not them. But
if you find something actionable, bring it to me. But I will leave it to your discretion as to what you deem actionable. Obviously, the more evidence we have, the better.
Yes. Well, the bigger the force you can bring.
Yes. On that note, as a member of the Radiant Dawn, I can't sanction this operation beyond your own initiative, and if you are caught breaking any laws, we will still have to act on that.
Well,
Understandable.
We should be fine in that regard.
I am just aware that you have history.
Kelariis stands up a little straighter.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about that. The old man keeps us all in line. Wait, don't tell him I said that.
Paladin sort of nods and says,
"We will do what is necessary, but we will not be excessive. That you have my word on."
So, like,
that's good enough for me.
It wasn't mentioned by you, but I would assume the same goes for where you feel the same. That discretion is always preferable.
Yes, that's officially the incident in the church was a sad accident. And as for the break-ins, they are being investigated by the guard as usual. The people of the city are otherwise unaware of any potential dangers, and I would prefer it if it would stay that way.
Do you have any more information, perhaps, about the break-ins? Like, details as to how?
As to how the break-ins occurred.
Yeah. If there are any similarities, that might be good to know.
No notable similarities. One was through a broken window, one was through a what we presume is a jimmied lock, and the other one was a simple breaking and entering. It was... There was nothing particularly noteworthy about any of them. They were all done fast, done quickly, done quietly, and if there was any evidence left behind, then we did not find it.
I see.
Unfortunate.
Well, I guess it's part bad, part good. It means they went for, well, quick and dirt. Well, I guess I would say, well, I guess it was kind of clean, but at least they didn't have any special tricks.
There's one thing I will say. Whilst these were smash and grab jobs, or at least made to appear to be, they knew times of the day when there were no guards present and nobody was home. It was coordinated and calculated.
Well, I feel like
good to keep in mind.
I feel like trying to blackmail or whatever they are doing to these nobles is not exactly a one-man job. Imagine there's at least half a dozen, like, working together.
Well, if the prevalent theory is correct and one of the houses is behind this, then they would certainly have the resources and funding available to be able to pull something like this off.
Well,
super quick, out of character. Would I know, like, where in this town would there be, like, is there like libraries and stuff to look up the history of the Othel family, or like, would I have to find a different source or something like that? Like, where could I find that information?
Depends precisely what you're looking for. You won't find history textbooks with the Othels in, but you might find accounts of their family history in public record.
Basically their like family history.
There is a town hall that keeps public record. Yes.
Okay. And would I be able to just see that?
Would depend on what you're looking for, but you could certainly try.
Okay. Because I would like to try.
Not at 8:30 at night, you wouldn't.
No, not at 8:30 at night.
It's fine. You can spend the rest of the evening filling out forms.
God. Every character becomes Vandal eventually.
The Paladin
Fill out your paperwork.
Paladin sort of makes to Leave and says, "Well, if you need a moment to deliberate, then by all means. But I believe the chaplain would like to lock up."
Yes. Well, we know where to find you. However, we might try and, well, not like contact you too much in order to avoid any
Understandable.
suspicion. Because, yeah.
If
you don't make time for just anyone usually, I assume.
Well, I guess Elizabeth would actually look to Paladin very much to say, if you would not mind it, I do have a way of sending messages via magic. I could contact you more directly if we felt it was necessary. Would not need even set foot in the church to convey short messages if necessary.
That sounds like a sensible idea.
Oh.
Only with major discoveries, I suppose, will we seek to meet in person.
Well, if you yourself find anything or need to tell us anything, you can always find us at the inn that we
The North Road Tavern.
North Road Tavern. That's it.
Yes.
It has a name now.
I had to go back and look it up.
Yep.
Also, the unnamed bar from before now has a name if it ever becomes relevant again.
Oh.
I mean,
What was
we
it
can make
called?
it relevant. We can go back there
Yeah,
right now.
what was it called?
It is called Nell's Meadery.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, and on that, I guess we should leave the chaplain to it.
Yeah, the paladin nods to the chaplain, and he sort of comes over and sort of says, "Well, I would say Palor's light guide your path, but I'm not sure if that is necessarily appreciated."
Well, blessing is always better. Is always better than a curse.
A blessing is always appreciated with me.
Well, then, may his radiance guide and keep you.
Well, good luck to you too.
Okay. You part ways. And I imagine then you head to the North Road Tavern.
Yep.
Okay. As you are leaving, what are your passive perceptions?
I think I'm 50.
9.
Oh, 11.
9.
13.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think 15 is the highest.
Okay, thank you.
Oh no, Scarlet's 13 as well. Never mind.
Well, at least we know we're all almost all of us are somewhat incompetent.
Okay, so
I'm not incompetent.
as you step out of the cathedral, you step out basically into an empty square. It's quite dark in the square because it's obviously late at night in winter, and there is a large number of clouds beginning to gather in the sky. It's starting to become quite overcast. And as you are making your way across the square, Arya, you notice that there is an individual who is watching you. It is an individual that you recognize as you have had dealings with in the past. It is a half-orc in basically... you can barely see it concealed beneath a heavy fur coat, but he is wearing a red and white stripy vest underneath a heavy fur coat, and he is sort of leaning up against the wall, arms folded, and you recognise this as Mr. Brick, the associate of Nordstrom Ratchet, the known Thieves Guild associate that you have had dealings with previously. Sort of like he's sort of like watching you as you cross the square, and just like the two of you sort of like meet eyes and just sort of watch each other as you walk across.
I guess I'd point him out for us.
Okay. Those of you without dark vision, it's kind of hard to see him because he's just standing in the corner in the dark.
Rad.
Yep. And it's just like squinting massively. That's like slowing down notably.
Do you make a big show of pointing him out?
No, I just do it like
Okay.
low key.
He continues to watch you.
Should we say hello?
Do we have to? We didn't just say we weren't going to break the law.
Well, we weren't. We
want
aren't
to
gonna
make
break.
contact with Nordstrom anyway. Or
Yeah,
was that
like-
something we thought about it and then decided not to.
No, well, like talking to criminals is not illegal.
Excuse me, Nordstrom is a reputable businessman.
Uh-huh.
I don't believe that.
Reputable my ass.
That's why he's got stolen goods.
However,
That's quite an
like-
accusation.
they might have, if they're willing to share, they might have some more insight into certain aspects of the, well, of the crime.
Might I remind you guys, this is still the, town square.
Yeah, but it's also night, and if we don't talk too loudly,
I mean,
yeah,
night just means it's easier to hear people because there's no background noise.
Velt did mention that he had discussed the situation with Nordstrom, and Nordstrom had mentioned that he hadn't had any stolen goods come through after the break-ins.
Sure.
So, yeah.
We did just say we wouldn't break the law. Let's keep it as a last resort.
wait, but talking is not legal.
I mean, better safe than sorry.
You're like halfway across the square at this point, and he's just
I-
still just sort of watching you.
You know, I guess I'll just I'll head over to him. I'll
He's
be
not-
right back.
He's not going. Forget it.
Okay, so Grim, you walk up to Mr. Brick. Just sort of like as you approach, you remember like quite how big he is compared to you.
Good evening.
Hmm.
Like, I just want to say, I made an excellent purchase from you last time I was here. Well, I guess your associate sold it, but I thought if there's anything odd going on in the, well, I wish I spoke to Thieves' Cant right about now. But if there's anything weird going on in your business, feel free to mention it at us at some point. We might be able to help. I know you're not too talkative, but have a good evening.
Hmm.
Unless there's something else you. No, he's not going to say anything. Oh.
Okay,
If,
carry on.
oh no, I was gonna. If as I like just before I leave, I'll turn right. Oh, if you have any more interesting goods, I might want to have a look sometimes. But and then I'll start moving.
As you turn away, he sort of says, "Come by the store."
Sure.
Just like disappears down an alley.
Guess now we have to find the store. I should ask if he meant now, but I guess that's why he's watching us.
He is long gone.
Well, I'll wave over to the guys. Well, and whilst I walk over.
Yeah. So you watch as Grim goes over, exchanges a few words, the half-orc disappears, and Grim comes back to you, sort of like waves you down.
Well, I told us to come by the shop. Although I will admit I wasn't sure if that was meant right now or later. But considering we are being watched, I assume now would be fine.
Probably so.
Probably.
And if it looks like nothing's happening, we'll just go to the tavern. Do we have any clue where where it is?
I believe Arya and Kelariis have been to Nordstrom's premises before. When you previously went there and bought some thieves' tools.
Wasn't Grim also still there for that?
Nope.
Oh.
No, I bought it out in the market.
Yes, that was the when you bought the thieves' tools was when Grim left. It was the same session.
Ah, okay, that might be why it was. Yeah. Well, I mean, between the two of us, I'm sure we can hopefully maybe find our way back.
I think we can.
Yeah, it was basically like at the end of an alley.
Yeah, that tracks.
And actually, from your memory, it was the same alley that Mr. Brick just disappeared down.
Oh, I guess we'll be heading down the alley.
Okay. You slip your way down the alley, avoiding the nondescript dripping that comes from above in this particular alley that you had to dodge through previously. Until you come, basically like there's no light down this alleyway, so you're sort of like having to navigate. Like those of you who have dark vision sort of have to lead those who do not. Until you get to a door that you can you vaguely remember which door it was, but there is one door that is left like partially ajar with a light hanging in the window. Or, like, hanging in the door frame.
Well, that seems like an invitation. I guess we'll...
Can I just point out, everything about this screams we're going to get murdered.
It'll be fine.
Also, like, because of dark vision, Elizabeth has probably, like, just grabbed Arya by the wrist. And it's like, probably holding on a little bit too tightly.
Harry's just like, why me?
Because you've got dark vision. You can actually see.
I don't want to be too loud, so I'll just, like, gently push open the door whilst walking in.
You push open the door, and it enters into, like, a... basically like a small front room. Where basically sat in a wooden rocking chair with like a blanket up over their up over their knees and shoulders is a small child who just sort of like watches you enter, like creaks back and forth in this rocking chair.
How are we talking? Like, can probably speak old or?
Yeah, probably like 9-10 years old.
Okay, they know words.
Ironclaw, you've seen this boy before. He was here the last time you came to see Nordstrom.
Well, good evening.
Hello.
I may have misunderstood, but yes. I'll just look at the others because I've never met this child.
Is Nordstrom in?
Yeah, I remember you.
It's nice to see you again.
Dad's in the back. I'll go get him. Sort of like pushes the like blanket off, gets out of the chair, disappears off into the back. A few moments later, the greasy-looking human man sort of steps through, sort of like running his fingers through his hair and says, "Ah, old friends. Always good to see old business partners again. How can I be of service?"
Well, I guess there's two things you could potentially do for us. One is fairly simple, which I was merely curious if you had like obtained any more like unusual wares, like the well, like this thing, if you remember, and I won't like extend it, but I'll
Yeah, you
grab
just
the...
produce the switchblade from your belt.
Yes. And the other is one that, like, you might not... Well, I feel like we should probably do this one first. If you don't mind.
He sort of takes in the switchblade and says, "Ah, yes, I remember selling that particular item. I have a few things that you might be interested in, but I don't usually do business this late at night, but usually reserved for special customers, you understand."
Well, fair enough.
But
Well,
I get the feeling your second request is more of a special customer's request.
Well, the thing is, it's the kind of request that you might not want to fulfill, and well, we wouldn't make you, but well, you might be aware of the going-ons with the noble houses.
I'm familiar with lots of goings-on in the noble houses.
But more specifically, well, we're looking into the break-ins, the murder, and all those shenanigans.
Ah, yes. Nasty business.
Yes. And, well, considering you're, a player on the less visible side of the...
You want to know if anything was moved through me?
Well, we already heard nothing was moved. However, I felt maybe maybe a new player arrived, or perhaps someone has made a new person has made some request, and well, if you put two and two together, you might have some information. But I wouldn't want you to, secrecy is part of the job, I understand.
Of course.
But I imagine murder is not usually
Not usually, no. I
Good for
don't
business.
tend to deal with the more messy side of things.
Yes. Oh,
I'm just a middleman, you understand.
that's kind of what I thought.
Why is his voice so creepy?
He's a creepy dude.
Greasy boy.
So you understand, previously when we exchanged information, there was a sort of a payment and reward system in place. It's usually my mode of business. Whilst last time the payment in question was rather substantial, unless you're producing something of a similar value again, there's a limited amount I can tell you.
What was the payment last time? I can't even recall.
Arya and Kelariis can recall, you gave him a Thieves Guild favour. The wooden peg that Velt gave to you.
Right.
Well, I guess we do not have one of those right now. Well, I guess I'm not quite sure what we have to offer you right now, but you're always welcome to come with a suggestion.
Most people do gold.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, I do have gold.
Well, how about what price point should we put it at? Would I have any clue at what information is usually priced at? Because
I don't know, have you ever had any criminal dealings of buying information before?
like thinking.
Is this really a good idea?
Well, how about this? Well, 2 gold and then an additional 2 for every bit of information that we can actually use.
He sort of smiles through his teeth and sort of says, "Well, I can tell you've not been particularly active in the field of information brokering before."
Well, admittedly, usually when we need information, people aren't in this field or are slightly more
Less
in the
shady.
area of no, more shady. Well, because usually it's either they're good people or they're, well, we basically beat them to death before we ask the questions. But I feel like you don't quite deserve that, and therefore I'm trying.
Wow.
Wow.
Also, I feel like if we tried that, there'd be like, like 10 guys with knives in this room.
Well, honestly, that is not something I'm concerned about. But like, those are the only 2 I'm used to, and I'm.
Do you want to make me an intimidation check, Graham?
It's not even trying to be intimidating.
No, but you did just threaten a man.
You did. Quite blatantly.
Well, here goes nothing.
Okay.
Look, it was not a threat, right? Or he misinterprets it. It's fine.
Nordstrom just sort of with a he sort of like leans back against the doorpost for a moment and says, "Well, I can see that may be a way of business that usually works for you, but suffice it to say, you're lowballing it quite significantly.
Really? Oh.
Also, I'd be careful around here who you threaten." And he sort of like leans back in from the post for a moment and just quite clearly now is holding a hand crossbow like leveled at you. From a door off to the left side, Mr. Brick steps through, sort of like has to duck a little to get through the small door, and stands there with a club leaning in one hand.
Sorry, why the fuck do we let Grim talk anymore?
I don't know, but
I think you misunderstand. If I were making a threat, that would sound very differently.
I mean, that was literally a threat.
No, that was me. That was me explaining my own past experience.
Can I just whisper in Elvish and just say, "Can you please take over now, before he gets us all killed?"
Well, like I said, I'm not planning on doing that to you. Should probably have specified that it's usually goblins and those sorts. But yeah.
Put it this way, if you're willing to put 25 gold on the table, I'm willing to tell you exactly what I know.
How do I know you know anything? Well, I guess...
If you thought I didn't know anything, you wouldn't have come here.
He has a point, Grim.
Fair enough. We can afford it. Worst case, we don't come back.
Okay, so you produce some cash. Put it on the table.
Just 2 platinum coins and 5 gold.
Okay. Nordstrom sort of raises an eye at the platinum. Sort of says, "Collect that up, would you, Mr. Brick?" Mr. Brick just steps over, scoops it up in a shovel-like hand, steps back. So, as far as I know, someone's gone and ruffled the noble feathers a little. They're all very on edge. And not without good reason, from my understanding. They've been hiring a large number of mercenaries to cover their own backs. Mostly from one another, from what I've been hearing. Turns out there's been a spate of break-ins, and rumour has it that a number of the nobles have received some very threatening letters after they went to the guard.
Well,
Threatening how?
I've not had a chance to observe any of them specifically, but from what I understand, they were very explicit about what would happen to them if word got out of what was going on. Not so much physical violence as threats against their character, so to speak.
Nice. So blackmail.
Everyone's got skeletons in the closet. Nobles more so than most.
Well. I guess at least this confirms our suspicions. Well, I guess there is one question, one thing. Don't know if you, there's one family, the Uffles. They don't seem to. Would you happen to know if they've received the threats as well, or
Funny you should mention them. As far as I've heard, no threats, no break-ins either.
Yeah.
But there is one thing. I'm telling you this because we've had a mutual business arrangement before, concerning Lady Othel, if I remember correctly.
We have.
So, Lady Othel, she's quite the collector. She employs a lot of security to keep her collections safe. I happen to know that a number of private security arrived at her residence a couple of nights back on word that one of the alarm systems had been tripped. No intruder was found, but nothing was stolen, and I certainly haven't heard of any attempts to take anything. So, whoever this is, they're quite the entrepreneuring thief, and they're operating without any sanction from any of the unofficial official organisations.
Interesting. Well, I guess we can. If I don't know, well, I guess you traded information, but I guess in return we could tell you a small thing that we have learned.
Except we paid him 25 gold, so why are we telling him anything?
Yeah, we should.
Well, like he told us extra, and like we wanna like he might be useful in the future. You might want to watch out, like who you tell stuff to as well. Whoever is doing this has magic to disguise themselves as others, and magic to drain the life out of people. Or at least that is, at least in the case of the church incident. Not sure if you can use it for anything, but
everybody make me an insight check.
Cool. I'm good at those.
Oh, whoops! I don't know why I'm still rolling.
Okay. So all of you notice this, without even... It's not terribly well concealed, but there is a rather panicked look on the face of Nordstrom that he looks at Mr. Brick and sort of says, "Well, that is certainly the revelation. Mr. Brick, keep that in mind, please. I think we may need to implement a pat-down protocol in future."
Thought you might appreciate it.
That is appreciated, thank you. Perhaps there is something else, considering your willingness to divulge such an important detail about said goings-on. Don't know if this has any connection, but a couple of nights back I was tending to my stand, right before all these peculiar break-ins began. I happened to witness 2 horse-drawn carriages travelling through the town square. Very odd thing to happen at such a late hour. Travellers come and go, but they tend to stick to the daylight hours. But these coaches in particular were rather strange. They had black curtained windows, and the fellows driving the carriages looked... well, there's a lot of strange individuals that I meet in my travels, but these ones gave me a bad vibe.
Well,
I've not seen them since, but
that's much appreciated.
just an unusual thing that I noted.
Well, that's definitely something we'll keep an eye out for. Well, stay safe. Well, I assume that was it.
That's all I have to offer. If you are still looking for some oddities, I do have some for sale, but I handle that business mostly during the daylight hours.
That's fine. We'll stop by during the morning, perhaps, and before we continue.
Well, you know where to find me.
Stay safe.
Thank you for your business. It's a pleasure.
You too.
Sort of lowers the hand crossbow and disappears back into the back. Mr. Brick just sits there, or stands there and just watches you.
Should we head out then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think as soon as we're out, Elizabeth still probably clutching Gaia's arm. It's just like, okay, you said talking wasn't illegal. I'm pretty sure that was.
Nothing illegal happened there.
You shared secrets that were granted to us by a holy order that have been kept secret and out of the public eye, and bought his own services of potentially shadily obtained information.
Well,
That sounds pretty illegal.
We made a transaction, and we shared information we discovered of the case. And, well, it brought us more information.
That still doesn't make it legal. Just, throwing that out there.
Well,
You can engage in plenty of illegal transactions.
it's maybe morally grey, but it's not. Yeah.
Morally grey does not also doesn't mean it's not illegal. Just saying.
There are some times when it's necessary to break the rules.
We did literally not even 15 minutes ago say we were going to do exactly not that.
I said
Well.
that we would do what is necessary, but we wouldn't be excessive. That's what I
Also-
said, at least.
Also, We have not actually. We just paid him for his time. It's like, yeah, it's fine.
You know what? Okay, I'm just glad I don't have to listen to his extremely creepy voice in a cramped, dark alleyway where there almost certainly were people sitting waiting to kill us if we tried anything, and I swear to God, you almost got us killed. And I'm terrified, and I'd like to sleep, but I don't think I'll be able.
We would have been fine. First of all.
He doesn't want to cause a ruckus as much as we do.
That's probably why he had a pretty flawless system for killing us without a ruckus, but you know.
You worry too much. Well,
You
you'll
don't
see.
worry enough.
Anyway, shall we go back?
Well, I assume we've definitely already left.
Yeah, this is a walk and this is a walk and
that was
talk
hushed.
scene.
Yeah, that was a hushed conversation walking back up the alley.
Just out of character. I love that you face down like an army of goblinoids without breaking a sweat, but one orc with a club and a guy with a crossbow, and you are absolutely shitting yourself.
Hey, it's a dark alley. There could have been any number of people hidden about waiting.
I mean, honestly, like, out of character, I'm not concerned with the number of people they could probably throw at us.
No, but this is the thing, right? Elizabeth is not scared of an army of goblinoids. Because they're concrete, she can see them, and she has ways that she definitely knows she can hurt them. But she can't hurt what she can't see. And especially not in such cramped conditions where she's also likely to hurt you guys or potentially herself as well.
Yo, that's fine.
Like, her options in super close combat are much more limited.
That is very true.
Like, the best she could do is maybe tase a few of them and run.
Yeah. I mean, how I would have pictured that fight going down is Nordrum shoots Grim. Grim goes, "I can't believe you've done this."
Oh my god.
Oh, honestly, disarming strike would be
yeah,
the way
just
to go.
hits you in the shoulders. Ah, fuck. I
Can't believe you've done this.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Grim leaning forward. So basically, what I was thinking was...
Oh no, do you know what I should have done? If I got shot in the shoulder, I should have been, are you sure you want to go down this road? Just like, don't flinch and just...
Reloads, shoots you again. Come on, man, I thought we had an agreement.
Third shot. Oh, I can't believe you've done this.
Wow.
God.
Fourth shot hits a
Yeah.
shield and then he dies.
Yeah. Shooting Grim with a single crossbow bolt is not very effective.
No, I don't think he'll go down from that.
Not at
Well,
all.
in armor, I will, like, you're better off as a single shot, but... Oof.
Better off with a single shot, but it needs to be a big shot.
Yeah.
And it needs to be magical.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even like without your armor, you can tank that damage pretty well.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's where it turns out it's an assassin rogue. It's like, no.
Yeah, he had... Oh, he's a level 20 rogue. He's got fucking 10d6 sneak attacks. Like, oh no!
He's a greasy guy in a back alley. You're level 11 heroes. I don't think
Yeah,
there's
I
that
think
much
it's
to worry about. As much as I
Yeah.
love that scene in character, just
Yeah.
putting that out there.
No, I know that out of character as well, but Elizabeth is very much like... First of all, we literally just said we weren't going to break the law. Secondly, this is a shady dark alleyway. She can't hit what she can't see.
Okay, but also, we definitely did not say that we weren't going to break the law.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
said
definitely
we're going
we
to
never
break
said
as few
that.
laws as possible.
Also,
Yeah.
we didn't break any laws at all.
I'm pretty sure we did.
And not really, actually, because all we did was an exchange of information. Like, that's not technically illegal unless there's a specific law that
Yeah.
we're all not aware of here.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem pretty damn, not... I mean, I'd probably put my money on it being illegal to divulge state secrets like that. But sure.
Eh.
No,
we
well,
weren't put under oath or anything, so it's not,
Also-
like, binding.
well, we were only asked to try and keep it
Yeah.
ourselves.
Also, can I just point out as well, like, I feel like Elizabeth's comeback to "you panicked, you worried too much" was very much justified. Just putting that out there.
Anyway, so you make it back to the North Road Tavern. That's not the right one.
No, it's not.
There you go. That's the right one.
Yay.
Nice and cold.
I apparently have 2 instances of the same tavern. That's interesting.
Interesting.
Concerning.
One is just scaled slightly smaller. Curious.
Very strange.
All right.
Weird.
Perfect.
Probably because I reused an asset that I recycled and then didn't delete the original. So
Probably.
anyway, yeah, you make it back to the tavern. It's getting quite late in the evening. The few people that are remaining down here are mostly huddled around the log fire in the hearth, or are passed out drunk at a table.
I'm just going straight to bed.
Okay, going straight to bed.
Well, I feel like considering all the stuff that's been going on, I will as we go up, I will quickly as I'm walking in look around for anyone that seems out of place.
Sure, make me a perception check.
So we're already drawing attention to ourselves.
Okay.
Oh wow, that's surprisingly good.
So you cast your gaze around the room, doing a brief threat assessment. Most of the people in here look like local workers. The majority of people down here are unconscious or almost unconscious. The small group that are gathered around the fire, some of them seem to be sort of engaged in sort of I guess you'd just call it sort of light banter.
Yeah.
Classic fan.
It's just it's a group of friends talking to one another and having drinks around a fire. The other 2 people around the fire are more interested in trying to eat each other's tonsils than anything to do with you guys.
That is nasty.
Is this allowed?
I can't.
I mean, you're in a bar at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's pretty standard. Also, I can't believe you're questioning if that's allowed and not, what we just
It's
did.
a meme. Jeez.
Yeah.
Goddamn meme.
You've never seen that Vine? Come on.
The rather
Yeah, I know what
rather
you mean.
beleaguered looking bartender is just sort of standing at the bar, wiping down surfaces, putting away glasses. She looks like she's had a hell of a day. But yeah, nobody in here looks particularly out of place or dangerous.
Oh, that's good.
It's always nice to know.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll just then head up then.
The bartender just sort of looks up, sees you guys going upstairs, and says, "Have a good night."
Right.
Thanks, too.
You as well.
Yeah,
Cool. So you guys go upstairs. I believe you got 4 rooms between you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a lot of rooms.
No, 'cause we got... Yeah, we got 4 rooms between us because Arya and Kelariis are still on bodyguard sharing mode.
Yeah.
We had one room was doubles. That's true.
Yeah.
Between.
Okay, so as you come back, Tallithsyr sort of pokes her head out from one of the rooms and is like, "Oh, you guys are back. How did it go?"
Went alright.
Fairly well. We have information at the very least.
Yes.
You can't say it wasn't productive.
Oh, that's great. So,
So-
where are we headed in the morning?
Well, I'd I'd like to go to Town Hall. And if we're going to be... Well, we'll potentially be getting a mercenary job, and if we do, I'd like to know a bit more of our client.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
How...
We figured a good way to get inside on all of this debacle with the Lords is to offer our services as a mercenary company, and I think it'd be a good idea to offer our services to the Othel, because they're either the perpetrators or the next target.
There is one small request I'll make to you, however. Please do not start the investigation into them until after we've signed up.
Sure.
Oh no, that was to Elizabeth.
I mean, there's not that much harm in reading books.
No, but I do not want to.
Association might draw attention, I think, is what Grim is saying.
It's like if you research someone and then go up, ask for a job, it's a little strange for most people, especially considering these times.
Is it? I always thought that was a more normal thing. Because,
however, if we first apply and then you go have a look, then we can always use the excuse of scanning for potential threats.
I don't know, I just thought it'd be a good idea to, know our client a bit better.
Oh no, that's definitely a good thing. However, I feel like we need to, I feel like if we do the research first, we might lose the job due to silly reasons.
I mean, who said anything about all of us doing research? I don't exactly need a mercenary company to go read books. I'm pretty good at that on my own.
I think I see Grone's point. It would certainly look a lot less suspicious if we took a job and then started asking questions. And I think we'd get away with a lot more being employed by them.
I suppose that's true. I'll hold it off.
It's a lot easier to go in and ask for information about people if you have the excuse of being their employee.
Besides, you only have to wait till the afternoon, depending on if they immediately send us somewhere.
I suppose you have a point there.
Well, I guess it wasn't what we came here for, but a job's a job, I guess.
Well, we think it'll get us information, so it might be very related.
And
at least that's the hope.
And we do know that they're hiring a lot of security anyway. So
I suppose that makes sense.
Actually, I feel like this might be something that you could actually come along with us for, if
I hope so.
Lars is okay with it, because it shouldn't be anything too extreme. You do have a second. Well, you will have a slight secondary objective, but which should be fine.
I mean, guard duty's simple enough. But I'd like to try and get a head start on getting to sleep, because I predict I'll spend the next 2 hours worrying there's someone staring in through my window. So, good.
Tallithsyr just sort of looks at you oddly.
Yeah, well, Elizabeth just goes straight into her room.
We talked to someone who's a little shady, and now she's worried. Don't worry, they like us more than they hate us.
She's just being concerned. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Besides, worst case, if they ever came after us, they would at most have a few goons that you could probably beat them with your fists. Not that you should, of course, but no worries.
not really had a proper fist fight before, but
Well, I'm sure we can arrange one at some point.
No.
For now.
oh, I mean, like I've practiced it. I've never had the yeah. It's fine.
I'm sure that I've seen you in your let me try that again. I've seen you practicing. I'm sure that you would be fine in a regular fist fight as well.
Do not encourage children to have fist fights.
Look, I'm not encouraging it. I'm just saying if it came to it.
This is a young.
I mean,
adult.
all of you.
Totally fine.
You're all awful people.
People usually don't pick fist fights with Dragonborn, at least from what I've seen.
I think that would probably go badly.
Yeah.
It's
They've got that kind of aura of don't pick a fight with me.
Because they're huge and muscly.
I think it's also the fact that, like, we can like breathe on them and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't stop people back in the army, but shrugs. That's a bit different.
Yeah, but that's dragons fighting dragons. I mean, I suppose that's a little more even.
Yeah. Also, I don't think we ever breathed on each other doing those fights.
Oh, no, I would hope not. That's just dangerous.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
I've fortunately never experienced it, but I can imagine.
Kelariis did once and it was bad.
Yep.
It was a bad time, is what it was.
Well,
if we're going to get a mercenary job tomorrow, we should probably get rest and look presentable or something. I don't know.
Oh, I've already cleaned my weapons, so.
Excellent.
Well, good night, I guess.
Good night.
Sort of closes the door behind her.
I'll head off as well.
Okay, so everyone goes to sleep.
Yes.
Okay.
And Elizabeth has to awkwardly come out of her room again because she forgot to cast alarm on the door.
Okay. You wait for everyone to go to bed, get out, cast alarm,
Yep.
go back in.
Yep. Sneaky.
Just at your own door.
No. No, on Kelariis and Arya's door.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the important door.
So who are you designating for?
It's basically anyone who isn't us.
Okay. Just so I know.
Yeah.
There might be one person that takes a peek I can think of.
Okay. So, you all settle down for a night's rest. And yeah. A couple of hours later, you all awaken refreshed. And yeah, you guys are ready to start the next day. So I guess my question is, what are you doing first?
Are we okay to take a short break first?
Oh yeah, sure.